He didn't sit in a chair. He sat squatted down all the time. That's all I can. That stands out in my mind about him. See, when I was born, he was older. He was an older man, so I don't really know what he did with his time or what. But
Did
I
he
can
have a
remember.
family?
Yeah, he had a wife, and I don't know how many kids he had. I know he had one. He might have had two.
No, they never settled in Kannapolis. Why not?
I don't know. The rest of my grandpa's people lives in right across the Virginia North Carolina line. I can't think of the town they live in. It might be Martinsville or Danville. That's where my daddy was born, in Danville. So that might be where they live.
Now, did they farm? I mean, what did your daddy? What did your grandpa do?
Grandpa was working in Dan River Mill, and he moved to Kannapolis. He must have thought he could make it better in Kannapolis. That's all I know. Because he moved his wife. He already had my grandma and my daddy and Aunt Pauline, and he might have had Aunt Eileen when he moved here. And Daddy was 6 years old when he moved here from Danville. Why he moved here, I've never asked him. I don't know.
There's a lot of questions you've never asked your family.
I should have. See, Grandpa's got old now, and you can't. He's smart, but you have to holler so loud at him. If he understands what you're saying, he can give you a good answer. He told me about going to school barefooted and stuff like that. He told me about walking to school 5 miles. And
Do you know when he started working in the mill?
no, I don't know how old he was when he started working in the mill. I'll tell you about my mom and her sister.
Okay.
When they started. My mama's sister went to work, I believe she was 11 or 12 years old. You know, they could go to work when they was kids.
And where were they living?
I think they was living in Virginia. See, my mama's mother died when she was a little girl, and they had to go stay with relatives, anybody that would keep them. And my Aunt Virginia went to work in the mill. I can get the facts on this and get them straight. And she was spinning.
Are any of these aunts alive?
My Aunt Virginia is.
She is?
Yeah,
Where does she live?
lives in Salisbury.
Oh, great.
She'll talk to us.
No, this is different aunt. This is
This is on my mother's side.
Okay.
And these others was on my daddy's side.
Now, was Aunt Virginia living here in the 30s too?
I don't know.
How old is Aunt Virginia?
She's 75.
Great.
So she was spinning. She was 11 years old, I think. My mama was about 9. She'd go to the mill. And Aunt Virginia taught her how to spin, and they'd get in fights in the mill. They told me that. And back then, you didn't even get paid to learn. When you was learning a job, you didn't get paid. It was on your own time. Then after you learned, they'd start paying you. That's pretty low. But it's a little bit better now. They pay you to learn now.
So how long did Aunt Virginia work?
Till she retired. She probably worked 30 or 40 years in the mill. She went to work when she was a kid, so she probably worked longer than that. I don't know exactly how long, but we can talk to her.
And did she ever work here in Kannapolis or Concord?
Yeah.
She did?
When she was a young woman. Because my mama stayed with her and babysat for her before she got married.
So did Virginia work... Well, when you said she worked for a long time, did she retire from the mills in Concord, Kannapolis, or Salisbury?
No, she moved to Mooresville and went to work over at Burlington. She retired from Burlington and Mooresville.
Now, is that a different kind of... It's a cotton mill plant?
It's a cotton mill,
And is that a real different kind of establishment? How is it different than...
It's not much different from Cannon. It's just a cotton mill. She spent in Burlington just like she did at Kannapolis. I can talk to her. I don't know exactly what spinning room she worked in here, down here, or nothing. But I can find out.
Now, is she open to talking and stuff? Is she real?
She might. We'll talk to her and see.
I
To the union,
sure.
the IBEW.
But your daughter works in a cotton mill.
Hmm.
How does she feel about what you're doing?
I don't know.
You haven't talked
See,
to her?
I ain't seen her since my husband died. She ain't been around.
When did your husband die?
January of 90. I know you can't understand that.
No, I
Jewish
get-
families are.
Close. Well,
Is that a stereotype? But they are close.
I don't mind that stereotype, but you know what though? I think not all Jewish families. You know, all families. Some families are really.
They really are gung ho this time. And like I say, there's some shame, but there's a lot of people that's not ashamed this time.
Is that a big difference than
It's
an
a big
85?
deal, yeah.
85?
Yeah, and did you see that picture in the paper where they was walking by dropping their cards in the buckets?
No.
It was in the paper. They wouldn't have done that before. No way. So I guess they've been walked on enough now till they realize they got to do something. But still, like I say, when they get in that booth at that last second, that's what worries me. All them thoughts that the company's been putting in their minds gonna come back. But maybe they'll have the guts this time to stand up and take a chance.
You do.
I do. I will till the day I die. I told Willie and him I'd go to my grave saying Union. I guess I got Uncle Red's blood in me.
We got to find out about Uncle Red.
We sure have. I hadn't even told Willie it. Well, I didn't know it till today. I didn't know he was a union organizer. And you know, it was tougher back then than it is now.
Much tougher. In some way, yeah.
This woman I work
Well,
with.
that's what we want to find out.
This woman I work with, I'd like for you to talk to her. She tried to help get a union in a place in South Carolina. It wasn't a cotton mill. She can tell you what it is, but she said they even hosed them down with hose pipes.
How old
And
is
that ain't been that long either. She's 56, I think.
she? Black? White?
White. She said they hosed the people down that was trying to get the union with hose pipes. I'd like for you to talk to her.
Is that your son?
I don't know.
Because your son. Okay.
Lives with my uncle. And I think Grandpa would talk to us. You know, he's not for the union. I knew that. But I tried to explain to my uncle that we want both sides of the story. It's not something to be, blasting against the union. It's just, but he told me not to come over there. So I don't know.
No.
My grandpa was working in Danville, Virginia when he was a young man. He moved here when my daddy was 6 years old and went to work for Cannon Mill. He lived in a mill house. He rented him a company house, and he lived there 37 years and raised 6 kids. Well, when the union tried to get in the 30s, my grandpa was against it. He even crossed the line. They was picketing. He crossed the line. Well, his brother, my Uncle Red, was a union organizer.
And
I
Uncle Red
found
is
that
alive?
out today. No, he's dead. I found that out today. Well, Uncle Red stayed with Grandpa 2 weeks when he was down here trying to get the union organized.
So Uncle Red wasn't from around here?
No, he was from High Point, North Carolina. And he tried to tell Grandpa what all the union could do for him. And he didn't want Grandpa to go to work. He wanted to strike with the rest of them. But Grandpa wouldn't. He went on to work. And Uncle Red even carried a gun. I don't know what it was for, but he did. And my Aunt Pauline, my daddy's sister, told me that shots was fired. But she don't know how bad it was. She was just a young kid. And she said, but Grandpa went on to work because he said he had 6 kids to feed and he couldn't stay out. He was afraid they'd starve. But she said she didn't remember anybody going hungry. They did strike, but she didn't remember anybody going hungry. And she said when Grandpa was working, it was so hot and dirty in there that they hosed the mill down twice a day so they could stand the work. And Grandpa's feet stayed wet all the time because of them hosing down the mill. That didn't have anything to do with the union. They just did that. And that's about all she told me. But Uncle Red was a union organizer, and I didn't know that till today.
No.
I said, that must be who I take after.
No, did you know your Uncle Red?
Uh-huh, yeah. I know him. I remember him.
Tell me, what did you know about him?
He was just a person that whatever he believed in, he stood up for it. He went to Russia and stayed 4 or 5 years. I can't remember that, but they told me about it, and I don't know why he went over there. But he did. He was a unusual individual.
So did he have a job? What did he do? Do you remember that?
All I remember she told me was him being the union organizer. I don't know what else he ever did. I could find out.
So this was your grandpa's brother.
Uh-huh.
So your grandpa must have some very strong memories of that period of time.
Grandpa, I can't say Grandpa was against the union, but he had 6 kids, and he felt like he had to go to work, and he would cross the line. And Grandma would be worried to death. Aunt Pauline told me Grandma would be worried to death when he would go. But nothing ever bad ever happened to him, but she said it was some hard times.
Now, so Pauline is his daughter.
Yeah, Pauline's my grandpa's daughter. And my daddy, we could go talk to Daddy, too. He probably remembers more.
Daddy's lucid, right? Your daddy's...
Yeah, he's got his mind.
So then tell me about yourself. I mean, tell
Me?
me, you grew up here, right?
Yeah, I grew up here. My mother worked for Cannon Mill 35 years, and she got brown lung and had to quit. Well, me and my husband tried to get her to go see a lawyer when she quit so she could get compensation for brown lung, and she wouldn't do it. She said they didn't ask me to come to work, I asked them for a job. So her disease kept getting progressively worse, so when she did decide to go to a lawyer, it was too late. The statute of limitations had run out, so she didn't get any help for a brown lung, but that's what she died with.
What did your mama do in the mills?
She was a spinner. And she spinned on the old spinning frames that, do you remember when Ralph Nader came down here and they had to take out some of the spinning frames because the lint was so bad?
I heard about it.
She run them spinning frames. I think they called them Waltney spinning frames. And them's the ones she run. And then Ralph Nader came in, Nader's Raiders, and they had to take them old spinning frames out and put some in that wasn't as linty.
Did your mother work in the same mill
Yeah.
that you work in?
No, Plant 1 has 7 different mills. My mama worked in number 5 spinning all her life. And then I worked in number 7 when I went to work.
So, tell me about the community that you grew up in here.
Well, it's just a regular cotton mill community. I mean, everybody works and pays their bills, and most people go to church, and that's about it. This is the Bible Belt.
Was it expected that you were going to go work in the mill?
No, my mother tried to get me to finish high school. When I got 15 years old, I fell in love and got married. She didn't want me to. She wanted me to finish school and go to college because she didn't want me to work in the mill like she did. But I had different ideas, and I quit school and got married. And then I didn't have the education to do anything else, so I went to work in the mill. And I like my job. I do. And I like my supervisors, but I feel like the company could do better for us. That's how I feel. Then when we tried to get the union in before, I liked my supervisor. I had a different one then, but I liked him. He just does his job. And there's some things they have to do that I know they don't want to do, but they have to do it to keep their job.
Like what?
Well, things they have to tell us to do, like adding on to our job and stuff, I don't think they really want to do that. But that's their way of getting ahead and bettering themselves as being a supervisor. See, they make a little more money than we do and don't have to work as hard. Although my supervisor, sometimes she works harder than I do. She's just that kind of person.
Now, they're saying, what did you know when you were growing up? What did you know about the union movement here in Kannapolis?
I didn't know anything. I don't know, but from watching TV and listening to the radio and stuff, I knew that people up north had it better than we did. And I knew most of the people belonged to a union, so I knew that it must have helped them. That's all. That's what convinced me, and I knew that we needed help. And see, everybody's not treated alike in the mill. There's partiality, a lot of partiality. And we need fair treatment. I want that worse than I do a raise. And I want them to quit stretching out on our job. So that's why I want it.
Can you tell me about the stretch out right now and how it's been affecting people?
Well, like my girlfriend Brenda Harold that was with me last night. She's doing 2 jobs now. It used to be 2 jobs. Now they've made it into 1. She drives a heister. She puts up rolls of cloth on one end, and the other end she takes the boxes that's full of pillowcases to packaging. That don't sound like much, but you'd have to see it. She's doing 2 jobs now, what it amounts to. It was 2 jobs until about a month ago. Now it's 1.
What made them stop?
Huh?
What made them go back to 1 job?
Save money for the company.
Well, they say, everyone's told me that your mill was just ready. That the people in number 6 are just out there. What's going on?
Okay. Before Murdoch, we had Murdoch, and we tried to get the union in. David Murdoch owned the mill. He made all kind of promises. And we work in what you call the finishing department. We finished what the weavers and spinners make. We make it into pillowcases and sheets. Okay, they was making good money. And Murdoch promised them that it was going to stay the same. Well, as soon as we lost the union election, Murdoch leaves town, sells the mill to Fieldcrest. Fieldcrest comes in and cut jobs like you wouldn't believe. And we thought they'd done cut to the bone, and they still cut. And some of the people got their pay cut in half and got added on to their jobs, and that's why everybody's in an uproar. And then when they cut out jobs, the older people, like they cut out a job and make 2 jobs into 1, the older people wasn't able to handle it. They had to retire or quit. And now we got a lot of young people.
So the young people.
Well, really, it don't mean that the young people are more for it than the older people. There's a lot of older people for the union. See, I'm middle-aged, way on into middle-aged. 49 soon be. It's just a mixture of both young and old. And we don't want to go on 12 hours. And we know we're next. If something don't happen, we're next. And I can't handle 12 hours. I don't think I can. I'd have to quit or something.
Have you been talking to some of the folks that are on 12 hours?
No, I can just imagine. Well, we hear them at union meetings talking about it. And see, they fixed our 12 hours so when you work on Sunday, you don't get no time and a half or double time or nothing. The way they got the shifts fixed, see. And on 8 hours, if you work on Sunday, you get double time on 8-hour shifts. If you work on Saturday, you get time and a half. But when they fix them 12-hour shifts where people rotate, when you work on Sunday, you don't get it.
It's just a regular day.
And most people around here don't believe in working on Sunday anyway. It's against their religious upbringing. It's against mine, but When you need a job and you got to keep your job, you have to work if they tell you to. See, used to, when Cannon had it, he wouldn't even start up the third shift till 12 o'clock on Sunday night. 1 minute after 12, they started up. He knew how people felt, but after Murdoch took over, we started working Sundays. People don't want to work on Sunday. That's a church day and a family day, and the Lord's day, and they don't want to work.
So now it's up, but they're going to work now, aren't they?
They have to.
Have to. I hear that a lot. I mean, have to.
You have to.
You have to do a lot of things.
You don't want to do, yeah.
Well, I wonder what's given you and all the others the courage to come out now.
I don't know what gives me courage. I guess it's just in me. I might have inherited it from Uncle Red. I don't know. But I just feel like you should stand up for what you believe in. I've always been like that.
Why are so many folks frightened?
And plus, too, the union told us that we have the right to stand up for what we want. And as long as we do our job and don't break the rules, that they can't do nothing to us for standing up for the union, they can't. 'Cause see, I done been through this before.
And what happened last time?
After the union election and we lost, they treated me better than they did some of the people that backed them. But it's because I had protection of the union. I still had their protection for so long. And like I say, I do my job, and they don't have no complaint about the way I do my job, so they don't bother me.
So, I got a sense that I was told that a lot of folks called up the union.
Yeah.
And said, "All right, come on down. It's time." What was going on?
I don't know. I didn't call. And I'll tell you why. I was so disgusted last time when we lost. See, the people said they was going to vote for it. And then we lost. That was such a big letdown. So I didn't call them because I wanted the people that voted against the union, I wanted them to get enough and call theirself. Because they get scared, and I didn't know what to do. And I felt like they needed to take enough and get enough and call on their own. I don't know who called really, but I did.
How'd you feel when you heard they were coming back?
Excited, happy, glad. And I hope we get it in this time. 'Cause we do need help. I know it's a lot better than it was when my grandpa was working and my mama, but it can be better. We got good air-conditioned plants to work in. My mother, I've seen her come home from work in her blouse. There wouldn't be a dry thread in it. They didn't have air conditioning. The only air they got was coming through the windows. And all that lint and hot. She had it hard. And the way my aunt talks, Grandpa had it harder than that. I didn't know they used to hose down the mill twice a day. I didn't know that.
What did Grandpa do?
He was a weaver. He was a good weaver. He was. I'm not just saying that either.
Now, what's
The only day he missed the work for, I guess, 40 years was he broke his arm in the mill, and he missed work when his arm was broke. He never did stay out.
Has there ever been any explanation about why the union didn't work in the 1930s?
No, not unless it's people scared. I didn't even get to ask her how come they packed up and left or whatever, because she was taking her husband to the doctor and she told me she had to go. But I can find out why they left or when they left. Daddy Mike could tell me more than her because he's older than her.
Now, Dad, your father knew Uncle Red was his uncle also.
Yeah. Yeah, Daddy knew him. Daddy knew him better than I did. And my Aunt Pauline said Uncle Red, she used to go home with him to High Point, and he'd take her to union meetings and stuff. And she said all she could remember was the word boycott, and she didn't know what that meant, but she could remember them saying that. See, she was probably, I'd say, 1934. That'd make her about, she's 65 now. How old would that make her then?
It was
About 5,
9.
9. Yeah. Daddy would have been about 12, so he'd remember more about it.
And your grandpa would certainly remember a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Now, what does your uncle do? Did your uncle work in the mill too?
No, he don't work.
He stays home with your grandpa.
Yeah.
Did he work in the mill before?
Yeah, he's worked some. I think my uncle would be for the union. I don't know why he don't want us to come over there. I really don't.
Maybe he just didn't want us to come by today.
No, he said just don't. I told him you was writing a book.
Well, it's actually for TV.
Yeah. And he said, well, don't bring her over here. You know your grandpa can't see and he can't hear, so. And said he ain't no union man. I said, well, this girl ain't for it or against it. I don't reckon.
Well, I'm certainly for it. I mean, I am, but our movie is not. It's not a rah-rah. It's a really looking at. It's Have you heard when the union first came in? You must have heard a lot of stories. I mean, a lot of people.
I've always heard them bad stories, but like I told you, watching TV and seeing people up north and knowing they had a better life than we do, I knew that the union couldn't be that bad. And the people around here thinks the union is the mafia. But on account of Jimmy Hoffa and the Teamsters and all that, remember when Jimmy Hoffa disappeared? And they're afraid of stuff like that. I don't know why.
Now, does the company make them afraid? What's going on from the company, like slanderous stuff like that, they won't come right out and tell us, but they got people working in the mill that's for the company. They'll give them little ideas and then they'll spread it around. Just like they said they had it going that our union dues would be $200 a pay, and said they didn't make no more than we do. You know that's a lie. They couldn't pay $200 if they didn't make no more than we do. But some people can't figure that out. And then the word gets around. What other kinds of... Now, well, there's a lot of things that they've been doing recently that I guess they did last time around too. These meetings. What's that all about?
They showed us a movie about people going on strike.
Yeah.
People going on strike and throwing these little bombs at each other. You know what I'm talking about. And it was the truck drivers, really. You know, the truck drivers, they get wild. And they wanted us to think that we would be doing that. That's what, they didn't say it, they just wanted to put it in your mind. And they told about people harassing people, trying to make them join the union and stuff like that. And we don't do that. We don't harass nobody. We hand out leaflets and cards and try to get them to sign it, but if they say they don't want to, we don't bother them. We don't just keep on at them. We try to tell them what the union can do for them, but we don't harass them. Just like my sister, she don't want the union. I don't bother her.
Is your sister a mill worker too?
She's a half-sister. She works where I do. And her husband works for UPS, and they got a union, and top pay is $17 an hour. He gets free glasses, free dental, and she knows that, but she still don't want us to have a union.
Why not?
I don't know. You tell me. See, she wasn't raised like I was. Her mother, me and her has got different mothers. We got the same daddy. I guess her mother raised her like that. I don't know. But
well, how did your mother raise you?
My mama was afraid. When we tried to get it in 74, I think it was, my mother was still working. Well, me and my husband would talk to her and tell her to vote for the union when we voted. She'd say, I'm going to. Every day she'd say, I'm going to. So we voted, and we lost. And I said, Mama, did you vote for the union? No, I just couldn't do it. That's what she said. She was afraid. She was for it, but she was afraid.
What was she afraid of?
Afraid of losing her job, afraid they'd close down. See, they put, as soon as the union comes and tries to organize, they start putting in people's minds that we'd close down. They telling people now they don't have the money to give us a raise. But then they come out with that newspaper article, how much money the executives make. That's why they can't raise us. They putting it in their pockets. So that's just about it. People around here, that's all they've ever known is cotton mill. And they're afraid if it closes down, they'll starve to death. They don't know what else they'll do. But it's not going to close down. But you can't make them believe it.
What happens in these meetings? I mean, can you describe the way that they call you to come and the whole bit?
The supervisor comes and says, she's a loud person. She'll holler, y'all go to the meeting at like 5:30. A whole group, she'll point at us. Y'all go to the meeting at 5:30. Well, we all go in like a herd of cattle, and we go into the meeting. And we don't nobody get to say nothing. They turn the movie on. We sit there and watch the movie, and they'll say, thank you for listening, and we leave. They won't let us ask questions or nothing.
Do you get paid for going to these meetings?
Uh-huh.
You do? You get paid for the whole time?
Yeah. And what burns me up, we can't hand out leaflets on company time. We have to hand them out at break time, but they can take us in to see a movie on company time and pay us.
Do people have a dialogue with each other afterwards? I mean, do
Yeah.
people talk afterwards?
Yeah. The people last time that voted against the union, when they went to see that movie, they said, we've heard them lies before, and they ain't going to believe them. Like you say, we got a good chance of winning this time. We got a good chance if they don't go in the booth and get scared. When it comes down to that last second, you know how it goes. That's all that worries me is when they get in that booth.
What are you gonna do over the next couple of weeks to try and address that?
I'm going to just keep up my happy whatever. Keep being happy and keep trying to encourage them and try to tell them not to be afraid. And I try to tell them, see, we got a lot of new people. And I try to tell them what the production was before and what it is now. Like folders. My folders, I doffed for folders. Their production was 5,350 before we voted the last time.
One day, each day?
Uh-huh. After Fieldcrest took over, their production is 6,900 now. The little folders that fold a standard pillowcase, their production was 6,250. Now it's 7,800. I try to tell them that, 'cause see, they wasn't here. A lot of them don't know. See, they think it's been this hard all the time, but it was better. And we wanted the union then, and it's even worse now. But we got people that they'd have to just pay them $1 a day before they'd change their mind. There's people like that. Just like I'm for the union, nothing could change my mind. They're against it, and nothing could change their mind.
Now, when you were coming up and you were young, before you went in the union, before you went into the mill, what kind of stories had you heard, or what did you know? I mean, what do you think your mindset was then?
Well, my mama would come home and tell how hard she had to work that day, and sometimes she'd tell things that the supervisor had done to her, and she'd tell me about special treatment that certain people had got. Now, she would tell them what she thought, the supervisor, but she didn't realize that if she voted the union in, they would talk for her. She wouldn't have to get mad and blow up, and she'd get mad and blow up, and they still wouldn't do nothing for her. It'd be like talking to the wind. That's the way it is now. We go to them with a problem, they say, I'll get back with you, and we never hear it again. We need somebody to talk for us.
Well, you're going to talk for you.
I will if I get
just
the
be
chance.
protected.
Yeah,
They just have to listen.
yeah. But I try to encourage them, tell them not to be afraid, and I tell them that me and Brenda did the same thing we doing last time, and we didn't get fired. And I try to tell the new ones to do their job, don't break the rules, and they don't have to let them know how they voting. Just they can keep it to themselves. 'Cause if I was new, been there a couple months, I'd be afraid. 'Cause they gonna let somebody go new quicker than they would me. And I just tell them, if they don't want nobody to know how they vote, just don't say nothing. Keep it to themselves, but don't be afraid and do their job.
When do you do this talking up? When do you do your organizing?
Well, I do it sometimes when I'm not supposed to, but they don't know what we're talking about. Now, I don't hand out no leaflets where they can see me on my job, but if somebody comes to me and wants to talk, I talk, 'cause they can't tell what I'm talking about. Now, one lady was talking to me one day, and the supervisor told her she didn't have nothing to do to go help somebody else, 'cause she probably knew what we was talking about. But if they come up to me and want to talk, I talk to them on the job. But I keep my job up. Because I know I'm on the wrong side now, and I got to do right. I do right any time, but I know now it's crucial for me to do right. Not break any rules. I try not to.
Are you scared about coming back the following week?
Last time, when we lost, and see, we didn't have to go back to work. We were observers for the union, so when it was over, we went home. And some of my friends were so worried about me. They said they started to call me, but they didn't know if I'd want to talk about it, so they didn't call me. But I just took it as one of life's disappointments, and I went back to work the next day.
How did the plant, did they celebrate the fact that they won? I mean,
Yeah.
How did they do that? What happened?
Well, I wasn't. Like I said, we went home after they counted the votes. They tell me that some of the people come in there, the company observers, come through the mill screaming, we won, we won. And this one girl said she's hollered so loud it shook the rafters. That's just a figure of speech anyway. But she's for the union this time. Yep. So, that's good. But we got a lot of them that's for it this time that wasn't the other time. But if we can just keep their hopes up and keep them from getting discouraged and scared. That's the main thing.
Are you going to be leafleting outside?
Yeah, whenever they do it, we always do. Me and Brenda does every time they do.
And what other kinds of organizing can you do in the next couple of weeks?
Well, all we do is, like I say, talk to the people at break and talk to them. If they come up to me to talk, I talk to them. See, I let them come to me on my job. If I would go on their job, then I would really get in trouble. But if they come to me, all she can do is run them off. 'Cause I'm not bothering them, they bother me. And they want to talk about it. They fed up, but they're still a little bit shaky, some of them. And some of them's mind's made up just like mine, and you couldn't change it. But I'm just hoping for the best. I'll be satisfied with 50% and one over. But I hope we win better, but I will be satisfied with just what we need to win. And a lot of people says that they think that if we win, that we won't pull together, but we will. We're pulling together now. When everybody signed them cards, that's pulling together, ain't it?
Oh, absolutely. What was that like when everyone was signing the cards?
I couldn't believe it. I was in a state of shock. I couldn't believe it.
I wasn't there, so could you describe the whole thing to me?
All right, we handed out the leaflets that day before going in. And we told them, sign them as soon as you can and give them back to us. Them people signed them cards. Some of them signed them. One girl signed hers on break right in front of the supervisor. Well, she was at the meeting last night. That black lady
Which one?
I said was my folder, Annie. She's sitting in the back where you was. She signed hers right in front of the supervisor on break. You can do it on break. And her husband belongs to a union, so she knows what it can do for you. And she knows her rights. And they'd sign the cards and bring them back to us. Me and Brenda got 50 that night. And they still bring it. This one girl came to me this week and asked me, did I have a card? And she signed it, that one I gave Willie last night. She had been out on sick leave or something, and she didn't get a card. So it was shocking.
What were people's responses when you were handing out the literature that morning?
They couldn't believe it. Some of them told us we was going to get fired. Some of us told us Harold Roseman would be breathing down our neck. He's the over the plant manager. I don't know what you call him. They got so many supervisors, I don't even know their titles. And I said, well, he didn't breathe down our neck before. I said, we got the right to do this. I said, we're on state property. We ain't even on their property. But me and Brenda has handed them out at the gate up there in the parking lot. Because we can. We work there. And they just, some of our friends just, they can't believe it. They just laugh at us.
Why do they laugh at
They
you?
just can't believe we'd do that. I don't know why. They don't have the nerve to do anything like that.
To be public.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of what your neighbors might think?
Nope. As long as I'm a decent person and I'm not breaking the law and I'm not doing anything wrong, I don't care what they think. Well, this woman here next door came from West Virginia. Her daddy was a coal miner, and he belongs to the coal miners union, so she probably wouldn't care if we did get. I hadn't talked to her about it, but no, I'm not afraid. We done been on television.
Now, were you one of the folks that was on TV?
We was on TV the first day before we handed out leaflets.
What did you talk about?
I didn't talk. I was standing behind Pete and Mary Edgison and Annie Williams. We were standing behind them. We didn't talk. Well, I did talk after they made the announcement that we were going to try to organize. They talked to me on camera. And I told them that I didn't have, like I told you, I didn't have anything against my supervisors. It was the company. And I had been working there 21 years, and I'd been cut out of any job that you could name. I had been cut out, and I thought we needed to be treated fair, too. We need fair treatment worse than anything, because they do have their pets. The ones at Brown Nose, they got their pets.
What are those brown noses doing now and at this point in the campaign?
Still following around behind them and doing anything they want them to do. I can't say what we call it on tape, but that's what they doing.
And they're not signing cards.
Uh-huh. Just like that woman I told y'all about last night wanted to see my union paper I was handing out. She was doing like that. I said, Martha, you can have one. You don't have to strain your eyeballs to see that. I said, we hadn't got nothing to hide. And she took one and read it, but she put it back. She didn't want to be seen carrying it around.
Hiding and secrecy, is that a big issue? I mean, are a lot of people, I know in the past I've heard of the union movement having to be real secret for a while.
We did. I thought it was secret in '85. Me and Brenda stood out, but I thought it was kind of a secret in '85. Because you didn't see nobody signing a card. And you'd see a lot of leaflets on the ground. And one plant manager, we got more than one plant manager, He asked the cleanup boy if he had found many papers on the ground. He said, not very many. So they really worried. They're worried this time. Because we got more cards in a week than we did in the whole year and a half last time. So you know they're ready. If they just don't get scared. So I hope we get it.
Now, there's a lot of older folks who were involved back then, or who remember it, and a lot of them won't talk about it.
Really?
Do you have any insight into that?
I don't understand why. It's over with. That's over with. That's history. I don't know why they won't talk about it. What did they say?
Well, a lot of them
See, I don't understand being scared because I'm not. I just don't understand it.
But you must know a lot. I mean, you grew up in a town that was scared, didn't you?
Yeah, but my people, I guess my people are different. Like my daddy, he's always been wide open. He didn't care if he wanted to do something. He didn't care what the neighbors thought. And, well, Grandpa, I thought it took guts for Grandpa to walk across the line when they was on strike. That took guts. Even if he was on the wrong side, it took guts. But he said he had to feed his 6 kids, and I can understand it. But what he didn't understand is how much better off he'd have been if he'd have been on the Union side. He didn't understand that. Uncle Red tried to tell him, but... Oh, and too, Uncle Red stayed with him 2 weeks. And like I told you, he carried a gun, and Grandpa was afraid on account of the kids. So Uncle Red moved out and stayed somewhere where the Union people were staying. And they had to sleep on cots in, army cots. I don't think they had motels to stay in. They were sleeping on the army cots, my Aunt Pauline told me.
Are there other people that knew your Uncle Red that live around here?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Are you interested now in your Uncle Red?
Yeah, I want to know more about him.
Well, let's find out.
Okay. I want to know more about him. I really do.
Why do they call him Red?
I don't know. He must have been redheaded. I can remember, but see, I got a lot of redheaded people in my family. My Aunt Pauline's redheaded, my Uncle Jerry, and Uncle Ted, so Uncle Red must have been redheaded.
Either that or he was a communist.
Well, they might have called him that. They might have. Because he went to Russia. Cut that off and I'll tell you why. I asked Pauline, she couldn't remember.
Did your Aunt Pauline remember which year this was?
She might. I didn't ask her that. What I asked her was, did she remember back in the 20s and 30s when the Union tried to get in? She said, yeah. She would probably talk to us if, some other day when...
Okay. Isn't that something? And you never knew that?
I knew about him going to Russia and why. I already knew that.
But you didn't know...
But I didn't know he was a union organizer.
In Kannapolis.
Uh-huh. I didn't know that.
So we gotta find some people that were organized by your Uncle Red.
That's right.
That's what we gotta do.
That's right.
That's our job.
See, Grandpa's 94, so if Uncle Red would be living, he would probably be at least in his 80s.
So Uncle Red was younger than...
Grandpa, yeah. So the people that he tried to organize would be probably in that age group.
Well, it's a lot of people, when they think about that, all they think about is the strike. They don't think about the organizing beforehand. And
the company, every time we get a letter, it's got strike and union dues in it. Every time we get one. Strike and union dues, and they underline it. They want to keep that fear in people's minds. And a lot of reasons that some of the young people are against the union, their parents and grandparents has taught it to them. If I would be like Grandpa, I would be just like them. But I know from watching television that people that belong to a union are better off. It don't take you long to figure that out, does it?
Well, I mean, that's something that I'm trying to understand. Because there's
The fear, that's why I'm like you, I don't understand it. What are they afraid of? Losing their job and the company closing down. They believe it. But Bruce Rayner told us last time, before a company can put that many people out of work, they have to open the books and let the government see them. They have to prove they're bankrupt. And we tried to tell the people that, and they don't believe the unions is the booger man. That's really what they think. Really. The booger man's back in town. Something from Mars. That's really what they think.
Now, do you ever try and explain? What about the fact that so many of these organizers are Southerners and they're from right around here?
Don't faze them. It's just weird people that ain't got nothing else to do. They even told Willie and them one day, some people rode by and told them why didn't they get a job. Would you like to have a Coke?
Sure.
Okay. Oh. I said, you mean Uncle Red was a union organizer? I said, I must take after him. She said, me too. She said, I hope y'all get the union. Y'all need it. She worked in the mill for years, and then she quit and went to the hospital. She worked at the hospital when she retired.
Did she join the union at the hospital?
I don't think they got one down here.
So you can't...
See, she worked at Cabarrus. But my other aunt, my daddy's other sister, lives in Winston, and she worked for AT&T, and she belonged to the CWA. And she gets a big retirement check from AT&T, gets her Social Security, gets all her medical bills paid. She's sitting on Easy Street. She's retired. And that's what we try to tell these older people. They say, well, I won't be here much longer. I don't need it. But they do. They need it worse than we do. 'Cause it's a struggle to make it after you retire unless you got something like that. And she's on Easy Street. And Aunt Pauline's jealous of her. Not in a bad way. She just says that she wished she had it that easy. But Aunt Eileen worked for it. She worked for what she got. She walked the picket line. She's been on strike. And she's worked hard, and she deserves it.
Are you afraid?
So Aunt Eileen must take after Uncle Red, too.
Do you have any pictures of Uncle Red? Do you think...
I might could get some.
You think your Aunt Pauline does?
I could ask them if they got any.
You think your uncle who doesn't want us to come over has pictures of?
He might. They might have some.
And this is the uncle who doesn't want to meet us. Well, listen, we're going to be here for a little while, you know? Maybe, you know, I met this girl, Uncle, and she's really very nice. I mean, maybe you go over by yourself. Would they let you go over by yourself? I mean,
yeah, I go over there all the time, yeah. But I don't know what he thought. When I told him that you was writing a book, that's what I thought you was doing. I said, she's writing a book about unions and she wants to talk to Grandpa.
Well, you know what? Tell me that again.
When you say union around here, it's like saying cuss words. That's the truth. It's pitiful. It's sad. Don't you think?
Have you gotten any response from your family? When was your mother was alive in 85?
No, she died in 84. She was here in 74 when we tried to organize. And my mama's sister told me that I was going to get in trouble. I was going to get fired. And my cousin on my mama's side of the family told me if I didn't quit messing with that union, I'd get shot. She did, and she's older than me.
How old is she?
She's in her 50s.
Is she working still?
She works in a nursing home. Told me if I didn't quit messing. It was kind of like a joke when she said it. I don't know if she's serious or not, but she didn't have to say that even as a joke. It's not true. That's how people feel about it around here.
But so many people signed cards this time.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
Maybe they're getting smarter. The younger generation, maybe they're getting more smarter about it, wiser.
Now, have people come up and said, my daddy said this, my mommy said this? I mean, do you hear people talk about the past, or is it just...
No. One of the supervisors at Plant 6 said that the union was communist. And I think a lot of people around here feel like that. They might have thought Uncle Red was communist on account of that, but I don't think he was.
Did you and Uncle Red ever talk?
All I can remember when I was little is going to his house. He lived in Greensboro when I went to see him, but he was older then. And all I can remember, he didn't talk much. He drank. He drank a lot. He was an alcoholic, but he was somebody that could